haven't been successful, haven't been already set up, adult kids, and the motivation is maybe that gratification of playing, of the physical exercise, the stress relief, the social connection, the sense of accomplishment, the nostalgia of even the music, what you did. That keeps you young.
All right, what is going on, everybody? I'm really excited about this. I get so excited when I get to interview some of my students and some of the drummers that I've gotten to work with, and I actually look up to them because of the things that they do and the motivation they give me. We think that's a one-sided street sometimes with maybe we're taken from a teacher and over it, but it is definitely a two-sided street with teachers, or a two-way street, I should say. And so with no further ado, I've got Richard, who is coming, who's meeting me here from Puerto Rico, and which I'm sure is much nicer weather than here, but and the beaches. So Richard, how are you doing, man?
I am very good. Excellent. Thank you so much, Stephen. Likewise. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for doing this. And I kind of just want to dive into it if you're okay. I want to talk about, so first of all, when did you start drumming?
Well, actually, I started drumming when I was maybe around 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. If you consider air drumming.
So you started air drumming, playing in the car and everything, kind of with that vision that, hey, this is something that I want to do. Is that correct?
Yeah, specifically, it was during the evenings. I did that for like 2 or 3 years, maybe on and off, maybe, but I would say 3, 4, 5 times, I don't know, a week easily, and I would spend hours. Basically, with my inspiration at that moment, out of pure accident, or should I say accident or not, but it was Rush with Neil Peart. And it was actually Exit Stage Left, the live album. And when I heard that, that solo in between YYZ, in my mind, I seriously remember this was 1979 or so, okay? So forget internet, forget visuals, forget memes, forget all of that. I listened to that like 10, 13 times that very first day I saw that record, and I thought into my mind there were like 3 or 4 people playing.
Yeah, because you and the rest of us. So you got inspired by Neil then. Now, did you pick it up at an early age, and then did you transition from air drumming to actual drumming and then set it down? Or how did that work?
Well, my first sit at a kid, I never had one. My mom never bought me one. Dad never bought me one. Maybe it was also my fault. I can't even recall myself saying I want a kid and I'll die for one. So I'll be quite frank at that end, but I would just be sitting playing, and around 16 years of age or so, high school garage band kids, and I was there as part of the just watching and having fun there with them, not playing actually. I sat behind the kid, and I remember playing something related to Van Halen, So This Is Love. Mm-hmm. Because I had that also air drummed in my days, so to speak. So actually, that was my first take at a kid. The outstanding thing was that I received comments from those kids saying that I played better than the actual
drummer. So,
and I felt awkward, and I felt very embarrassed. And it wasn't my fault, but I quite accepted what I heard, and I believe so. And I actually. Much of what I learned through you, through the shed, through all the resources I've been through, I come to tie into many of the things I did as an air drummer. I wanted to lift my left foot. I wanted to do everything, and I had maybe that musicality in me.
Well, and that's a really common, especially for drummers that come later in life, because maybe we have this inspiration, and I've talked to several women that their parents said it wasn't girls didn't play drums, and I've talked to some people that said we didn't have the money to do it, and then they got married, and then they had kids, and life got in the way, and things got busy, and so it's a very similar story with a lot of people having this want or need to do it, to play the drums, and then they wind up just kind of slowly moving that back and back and back. When did you kind of decide and kind of get serious for because I know we've been working together for a few years now, and you've been very serious about it. Richard's come to, oh gosh, how many camps have you come to here now? You come to 5 or 6, must have been. And then he's been in the online program for years as well. So when did you say, okay, I want to play this, I want to figure this out?
2019, I will say, there was kind of pre-COVID.
Okay, so let me get this timeline straight. 1979, you're air drumming, and then you sat down with your first kid a couple years later, and then fast forward to 2019?
At that age, at that moment, in my mind, I didn't feel that word imposter we hear a lot, and even so, I never sat on a kid, but I felt I didn't deserve it. I wasn't worth it, and like I kind of never went through with it. Maybe if I had a push from mom or dad or someone close, maybe it could have. So maybe that comes to say, now that we're here, those fathers, mothers listening in, listen to that passion that their kids bring in. Listen to that, that vibe they might bring. You never know what might come out of it. I always wonder that. What would have happened if I had a kid in my teenage years? Maybe I would not be here. Maybe yes, maybe not. But anyway.
Well, and you talking about being, not to interrupt you, but you talking about feeling like an imposter. So many conversations I've had with people, and they will ask me, they say, well, when can I call myself a drummer? And I said, well, now. And they said, well, what do you, I can't play very well. I said, but do you play the drums? They said, well, yeah, I get in practice every day. I said, okay, I said, you play to music? Yeah, I play to some songs. I said, okay, well, you're a drummer. Congratulations. If you get on the drum set and you play the drums and you do the things that a drummer does and you play the songs and you're a drummer. You don't have to have some skill level, but it's this pervasive feeling that people have that they're an imposter. They have to do something to achieve the right to become a drummer, and you really don't. You just have to pick up the sticks and play. I was gonna say 2019, so all this time kind of air drumming, the desire to do it, kind of put it on the back burner.
2019 came, and that's when actually I bought my first kit, and I've gone through a lot of kits, so to speak. I started with an Alesis MK10 Pro, whatever it was, I forget. And maybe I played, that was late 2018. That was December, I recall. Okay. And
so about 5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, about 5 to 6 years ago, but let's say, 5 or so. But meaning that I started with that Alesis, and actually I never took classes. I was just playing to the tunes I put through my speakers. That was it. I wasn't even looking on YouTube. I wasn't curious I was like old school. Let me just sit. That's the way maybe I did it, air drumming. I got a drum kit. Let me have the feel and go at it.
Now what, if you don't mind me asking, so you, at that point, you're already very successful in your career. You're married. You've got kids. Like, you're very successful in several areas. I mean, with what you do, which is that correct? Insurance adjustment?
Yes, I'm an insurance consultant, educational consultant. I do a lot of training in the States as well, Puerto Rico, and I've been successful in that so far.
So how old were you whenever you got in 2018, 2019?
Let's calculate that. Right now I'm 59, Stephen. So let's go 5.
About 54.
54, 55 years of age. I actually bought that kit. A year went by. I bought my Pearl E-Merge, another E-kit. Maybe a year passed. I passed that one along to my cousin, and I then bought a Roland, and I got my acoustic right now. And if you ask me, I'm in love with acoustic. Everything I do is acoustic. I've come to the point in which I can discern, and I have that feel, for whatever it is. And I know we can be opinionated on that, but even so, that's when I undertook it. And actually, in 2021 October, that's when I actually joined Stephen Drum Shed. After watching you on YouTube, you were my first teacher on YouTube. So to speak.
Well, now, okay, so let me ask you a question, because now you started really serious about 4 or 5 years ago, right? At the age of 54, really decided like, okay, I'm going to do this. If you could have thought 10 years before that because now you're gigging, you're in a band, you're out playing. Your wife supports you in doing what you're doing. Like Lynette, she's such a sweet lady, and he brings her whenever they come for camps and everything. And if you would have asked yourself 10 years before that, this is what that's going to look like, because you already had kind of a career and a family and everything, is that something you were even thinking about?
Not at all. Not at all. It wasn't going through my mind at all. And I will just say this. It's a very personal, quick story, but my fire got rekindled and relightened, or however you want to say it, sitting in a cantina bar here in one of our, with a doctor friend of mine, actually, for many years I haven't seen. And the guy is a Rush fanatic. And we just started talking, what? Rush. Alex, you know how it goes. So we're there, and he kind of rekindled the thing. And I kid you not, 3 days passed. I researched in those 3 days. That's when I got my kid, the first kid. So that's what I mean. It kind of boom went back. I'll say this though. Haven't been successful, haven't been already set up, adult kids, one is another phase. There's a very different motivation. And the motivation is maybe that gratification of playing, of the physical exercise, the stress relief, the social connection, the sense of accomplishment, the nostalgia of even the music, what you did, running all these movies running back and everything. I mean, that keeps you young. Let's not kid ourselves. It keeps me young, up and running so much and so goodly, not badly, that it's reflected and mirrored in many facets in my life. I still get issues and I still fall down and that roller coaster hits the ground even sometimes. But man, at least I say I can look and stop. I've gained patience. I've gained confidence in many things. So actually, it's been this, I keep this kid as the center of my life. Even Lynette knows it. And I'm not demeaning her at all.
Sure.
It's just like a marathoner, like a runner, like a good golf player. That what he loves. That what he does. He won't stop. She won't stop.
This podcast is brought to you by the Drum Better Daily program. That's actually my online drum school that I've run now for 12 plus years. Not only have I been playing the drums professionally since the age of 15, I've been teaching since the age of 18. Matter of fact, I talked to one of my first student a few days ago. I actually called him to see if he could sub a gig out for me. Daniel, love you, man. And he's still playing. He's still doing it on a pro level. And I have been committed to teaching for 22 plus years now. I would love to have you go check it out at stevensdrumshed.com. You can find a link to that in the show notes or video description, whichever platform you're watching it on. But it truly is a community of like-minded drummers where we are striving to just be the best that we can be at the drums. In addition to over 70 pre-recorded drum courses, there's also a tech talk area where we talk about everything technology related as it pertains to the drums, e-kits, recording, doing videos, all of that stuff. There are forums where you can hang out with the other students as well. We do 2 live video student calls every week that you can join if you'd like to. We do guest artist calls monthly, and I'll even make you a personalized lesson plan if that's what you need. Yes, we talk about the nuts and bolts of drumming. Yes, I give you exercises, but we also talk a lot about how to practice more efficiently, how to practice better, and how to get more out of your practice time. I know you're just like me. You're busy, you're being pulled by work, by family, by friends, by other responsibilities. Whenever you practice, you really want to see gains and have it be productive. That is what we focus on in the Drum Better Daily program. I'll have to say personally, it's been really cool because some of these students I've worked with for over 12 years, we started running drum camps here in 2022, and I got to meet some of them in person for the first time. Those drum camps have been selling out, blowing my mind with how much fun they are and how great a time it is to bring the community together in person. I'd love to have you be a part of it. And it's part of your, it's part of your life. Kelly and I had to have that talk a long time ago, and now it's what she loves about me. It's one of the things that she loves about me is that I'm so passionate about it. We went away for a weekend a couple weeks ago. It was our first time away in like 3 years from not having kids and everything. And we were just kind of reflecting And I'd gone back out on the road for about a year and a half because I came off the road many moons ago because I had kids. That was a choice. A lot of people think, oh, you can't make it into the career. My career was going fine. I just didn't, I wanted to see my kids and I wanted to see my family. And it's very hard to do when you're touring full time. And, but I went back out, I had a blast. I loved it, and I was out for about a year and a half, and she said, you really seem to enjoy that. Is that something you're looking to do again? I think she was a little nervous. And I said, no. I said, I got to see the kids grow up. And I said, I like you too much. I said, but absolutely, I love it. I said, and if I was here by myself, I would be gone. That would be what I'm doing. But there's other things in life. But I think, like you said, we get to kind of like the point you were talking about, and we're like, well, I did it. I raised kids, they're adults and successful, and I got a marriage, and I did the work thing, and I'm successful at that, and now maybe I'll look to retire in a few years, but I guess that's it. Boy, they were the glory years, right? The good old days. And I have so many students that are like, no, I want to do this other stuff. I feel young. Learning this new stuff keeps me young. I now have new goals. I'm just transitioning into this new phase of life, but it's kind of giving yourself permission to live the dream, whatever that dream is, And so you came, and I remember we started working together, and then you came for your first in-person camp, which was our first time to meet each other and get to kind of work closely together. And I love every drummer is unique and every musician's unique, and Richard's personality comes through in his playing so well, and that's something I love about you. And whenever he came here, he had much more energy than facility. He had this energy and he heard what was going on, but kind of getting it out and having it happen in time and in pocket. And so he and I discussed, I said, I'm going to actually pull you back some. I'm going to make you calm down a little bit and play less notes. And then we're going to let the reins go some. And sure enough, over about 3 or 4 camps, you listen to the recordings from each of those camps, and they're night and day difference as far as his approach to it, but he still maintained Richard. And then last year we were working together, and he got an audition for a band. So tell them about that, because that's awesome. Because you had told me, you said, Stephen, I want to get in a band. And I said, well, that's to keep that picture in your head. And you went back, and it wasn't but a few months later.
That band mix, is it called? Band mix application, I believe? Yes. I contacted this guy, this fellow, he worked at the university here in Puerto Rico, close to my hometown. The guy's a bass player. And we started to get together. We met. And this was maybe in 22. So I had started already in 21 October with Stephen Drumshed, doing more formal stuff, maybe a camp already in the bag. And all of a sudden I meet this fellow, and that's my first take with musician, so to speak. No singer, no nothing. We just backtrack stuff and play. And we've kept playing. But the thing is, 22, 23, 2023, I get an audition for a band called Goblins of Sticks, right? And it was very interesting, pop rock cover songs. I learned 42 songs all in all for our gigs, with more to spare. And that was a super challenge. And all of a sudden, that this was going through camp with you, and let me paraphrase, going through one-on-ones with you. Remember at that moment, it was, I think it was last May, wasn't it? April, March, May.
I think so. Yeah. It would have been May, June, something like that. Yeah.
All of a sudden, I remember, it's so funny because you got your goals ready. We have already talked about those goals, you and me, we went over them, and all of a sudden, oh, Stephen, everything has changed. I got an audition, and I got an audition for a band, which is right now is called Time Capsule. Yeah. All right. Again, cover songs, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. The rock, the classics. And we take it as an evolution, the singers and so on. They go like with a story going from the 60s all the way to the 2000s, with Nirvana or whatever. But the experience of actually playing with this bass player, with other, is so different from actually playing with tracks, doing your stuff and you're on your own. You actually have to cope with a lot. and it's a great exercise, mental and physically, and I mean, each gig, I would see it at least as a new golf game. Forget what happened last Sunday or in practice, and this I learned also through maybe many of the books and readings that you've given us. Some of them you suggested. The expectation part.
So let's talk about that, because we had been working for a couple of years, and then you start stepping out and meeting people. I don't have to tell Richard to get out and go meet people. He's just going to go meet people. I mean, Richard, if you walk in the room, Richard's going to be your buddy, I promise you. And so getting out there and meeting people, and then starting that kind of ball rolling. And we were working together one-on-one for about a 3-month period, and this happened, as he was saying, just kind of right after our first initial meeting. He's like, I have this audition. I said, okay, everything else stops, because we're going to nail this audition. And I because I had a teacher that did that for me. You see, we do all this practice, and then we get afraid to go away from the textbook, and it's like, wait, did you just get an opportunity to play with musicians? Okay, put the book up. It's time to go. It's kind of like your mom saying, stop reading on the couch, get out and play with real kids, And so he came in and we worked on the songs that you were auditioning with. He sent me recordings and videos of them, and I got to kind of give him some input and those kinds of things. Then he goes to the audition, nails the audition, gets the gig, and then he's like, okay, I got to learn all these songs for the first gig. And that was a lot of fun too, because we broke up the set list into how much time do you have before your first gig? Okay, you need to be learning this many songs a week. So it made it a very doable thing of like, okay, I need to learn 7 songs, 10 songs, whatever it is. And then right before his first gig, and I'm not sure he was too keen on doing this as many times as I made him do it, but I said, okay, now that you've learned all the songs, you need to put them in a playlist, and I need you to play through the entire set as if you were at the gig. And he did that, and he came back and he said, okay, I did it. I said, cool, you need to go do it again. And so he goes back and does it a second time. And this is all before the first gig. And so I think Richard was so sick of those songs by the time that he actually played the gig. But how did that first gig go with this group?
It was excellent, and it was not without mistakes, without dropping a stick, but keeping the cool, and actually went well. We recorded most of it, and I had the opportunity to go back. I think it's important. I do that a lot in my practice, and most of it's recorded, and I watch it, I mirror myself and try to play against that. But anyway, it was an excellent gig. The fun part was, and this is so, I was saying this to you a while ago before we began, watching Pulley, another of our good drummers in the gang.
He's referring to another student of mine. I've actually interviewed Pooley once or twice, so you can find that on the podcast. I actually put it on the main YouTube channel as well. And if you're in the Drum Better Daily program, which is my online drum school, you already know Pooley and Richard because they're in the forums and everything. So yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
In that first gig, it was so, I felt so relatable when I was watching Pooley's interview that you had with him. That he was saying that they lost power, and then the same thing happened, coincidentally, in the middle of running down a dream, from Tom Petty, and it was so cool. I've got it somewhere on Instagram. Somebody posted it, all shouting, but that train kept going, man, and it felt so good. It felt so good. It's just, I really feel it's the confidence that baby step, small step at a time. You start working, on and you start applying that in every facet.
Well, and I want to respect your time. We've got a few more minutes, and I want to respect your time, but I want you to kind of give some people some advice. So you're whether you think it or not, you're living some people's dream, because they may have just come to the drums. They've been like, man, it would be so cool. Some people are sitting there right now listening to you talk, being like, this is exactly what I want to do. I've been a surgeon my whole life, or I've been a stay-at-home mom my whole life. I'm remembering an email I had last week where she's prepping for empty nest because she's been a stay-at-home mom her whole life. She's like, I want to play in church. I got some things I want to do. So you're actually doing the thing that some people are dreaming about doing right now. You're like a living proof that, hey, just because I'm 54 doesn't mean I'm out to pasture. I can actually jump in and have a whole second career of doing something fun, even, just for fun, on the weekends. So if you could give maybe, 2 or 3 pieces of advice for things that helped you in the past few years get to kind of where you were, that maybe that's how you practiced or what you worked on, or like you said, some books you read. What are some things, some advice you could give to people that are thinking about, hey, maybe this is something I want to do?
First of all, think drums almost every day at different times of the day, not necessarily at every moment. A lot can be done visually, mentalizing, and with visualization. You can see yourselves playing, learning, watching a lesson and actually mentalizing it, intellectualizing it will create a good foundation in your brain for then later to sit on the kid and actually express it and being able to express it. I will say, I learned the big 7. What can I say, right? And that is here, when talking about the big 7, and talking about timing, groove, technique, dynamics, articulation, melody, flow. I think I hit them.
Yeah. So I'm actually impressed there. Those are 7 big picture principles that I teach in the program, that are 7 things you can work on in every exercise. So it kind of minimizes the amount of material you need to work on, because you can work on timing in anything. You can work on groove in anything. So go ahead.
And I will say this, my practical suggestion, because many have the motivation, and if you got the motivation for whatever reason, it's a matter of sitting and actually doing it. But if you're going to think about the big 7 again, I will say having the technique to grip those drumsticks, because that's the only connection you got with this baby. Mm-hmm. And having said that, the way you can actually, the many options you can work through. I'm not talking about molar, push, pull, using your wrist, using your fingers, that. I believe is key. It will help you then with the rest, and that is my take.
Yeah. Well, and those are all great points. You started with making it a part of your life outside of your practice time, making it something that you do. And I can attest to this. Richard drags Lynette everywhere that he goes with this. She comes to the States, she sits through the camps, she comes and supports him, she goes to the gigs. So, and then making it a part of your day, throughout the day, watching lessons, reading things, you've mentioned that, listening to music, and then talking about, getting a solid technique, a grasp of technique, so that you can facilitate what you want to do on the drums. That's so important. And you actually touched on one that you kind of glossed over, and this is the thing that keeps people from achieving what they want on the drums, really in any endeavor, and that is setting aside the time every day. It's actually pretty easy to play the drums. It's very, very hard to start the habit of playing the drums every day.
I will say this. It is like any other passion in your life, thinking about maybe sports, well-being, nutrition-wise, health-wise. Those of you who are marathoners, runners, think about it, or go to the gym. How many times you start this first 3-4 weeks? We are creatures of habit, and we will fall back into old grooves. But you gotta have perseverance, at least for a couple of months, because I promise you this, you'll keep going, and then the body will ask for more. It's like precisely, you went to the gym, and those first 2 weeks they hurt very much, but after that it starts feeling comfortable. And
it's about the habit, and for so many people, especially people that are successful like you in business, and they're busy, they have a lot going on. And so many times I start with them, I say, look, this isn't about the drums. This is about you carving space out in your day to do something that you say you want to do and that you're passionate about. So the thing we're going to focus on is I want you to show up and sit down at the drums for 5 to 10 minutes every day and play a song that you like. Then make yourself get up. When the timer goes off for 10 minutes, you make yourself get up and leave, because it's not about playing the drums at that point. It's about the habit. And once you do that for a couple weeks, taking a 10-minute habit and expanding it to 20 minutes, that's not very hard, right? But it's getting that initial habit put in place that's the hard part.
And I'll say this, each session, each lesson, each day, each week, each month, whatever it is, everything you start learning anew, a new technique, a new a new rudiment, a new orchestration, whatever it may be. Every time you start that piece, the learning curve becomes less steep. It closes the gap incredibly.
Yeah.
And maybe what took me months to learn these four things, these other four things might take me less, because I have a foundation or a consistency, so to speak, and many of us do.
Yeah. Well, I want to respect your time. Thank you so much for showing up and doing this. I actually have to go. So us talking about Mountain Land Drum School, I actually have a call with all the students in about 15 minutes. So I'm gonna go do that. And thank you so much. I'm super proud of you and what you've done, man, and looking forward to seeing what else you do with it. So keep it up, man. You've been an inspiration to me.
We'll talk soon, my friend. Take care.
All right, we'll see you, Richard.
All right, bye-bye.